been nominated for an Imagen Award this year. Imagen that. And we've gotten other nice compliments via email, such as this letter. Cris, I think your show is terrific. It's smart, creative, the topics are current and interesting, and so are your guests. I look forward to your show as it provides for intelligent Latino programming, something that is missing network-wide. Keep up the excellent work, Paul Aranda. Dear Paul, yes, we pride ourselves on being the savviest Latino show in town, as demonstrated in these upcoming heady topics. Gloria Estefan as psychic. Is the rhythm really going to get you? Cloning Cantinflas, right or wrong? And are Ricky Martin's hips the answer to our energy crisis? We're that type of show, folks. Okay, here we go. Evangeline, we wanted to talk about what is affirmative action.
I think it's important to understand what we're really talking about here. We're talking about programs that seek to expand the notion of merit. We're talking about programs that seek to look for other ways to measure merit. Affirmative action is how they do judging in the Olympics. They don't just judge on the perfection of the dive, but they also judge on the difficulty of the dive attempted. And so affirmative action is like looking at college applications and trying to see if what this person attempted was perhaps more difficult than what the next person attempted. And so maybe they didn't get as far, and maybe they didn't do it as perfectly, but because of the difficulty, it shows that they are as smart as somebody who grew up in the suburbs and had access to all the educational opportunities. And I think it's important to sort of see it that way, and not in terms of giving anybody a break.
Like
that's
life
undeserved.
credits or something?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. If you had to hold down 2 jobs and, you know, go to school and babysit your little sister or your little, you know, you're not going to have as much time to study, and your grades aren't going to be as good. And it's just, but you're probably going to be as smart and as capable. I mean, you know, I did very well. I got into law school on affirmative action program, but I did very well. I held my own against the other people who had better LSAT scores than me, maybe better college grades.
And once you go to court, you don't say, I'm an affirmative action.
No,
you don't get a break, right?
I
once
don't
you're
get a
there.
break in court. They don't, you know, and so I have to be as good. Otherwise, people will stop hiring me. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
Armando, you wanted to expound a little bit on the notion of why Asian immigrant children are succeeding so well.
Well, I think it's a question of, you know, just what the merit is. You know, if you talk about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, what are the rules to the pulling up? And Nelson's talking about, and I think we talk about mostly that it's one set of standards. And Asian Americans perhaps are achieving that standard, you know, well, for some cultural reasons, and I think that maybe what Nelson's point is in terms of the discrepancy between, you know, African American, Latino, and Asian.
I'm not saying that Asians are smarter than Latinos. I think there's a lot of smart Latinos, and
because they ain't.
No, but I just think that I think if they were to apply themselves as much as it's available for everybody else, they would succeed as well. That's all I'm saying. It's just a meaning of everybody. Everybody can get to where they want to go if they apply themselves. When we take a race, everybody starts at the same point, and everybody's trying to reach that goal at the other end. Finish.
Okay, let me ask you
One
this.
is stronger than the other. That's all. It's about endurance.
In your race, you got these 2 runners, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm running next to this guy. He's got better shoes than me. He's running on a cinder track, and he has a better coach. Okay,
Right.
I'm running with no shoes.
Fine.
I'm running on dirt, sand.
Fine.
Okay. That's the race I'm running.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it might be an even race, but
Sure.
I don't have the proper shoes.
Okay.
I don't have the proper running surface.
Right.
So you're talking about a thing that
Difficulties there?
No, I'm saying that the playing field is not level.
Well,
and maybe it's just a perception you and I have about the world.
That's right. We do. Obviously so.
But can you really ever make up? I mean, the regents actually, they sit in a room and they try to decide who's in and who's out, right? I mean, can that ever be possible? I'm sure many mistakes are made.
I don't think there's going to be ever an absolute to anything in life. It's just about a trial and error, you know, variations to things. Nothing is so absolute black and white. There's going to be a gray area. I think the question is, if the standard says 1,200 is what you got to reach, then that's the 1,200 that everybody must achieve. And the reason right now maybe there's an influx of more Asians in the process is because they are able to do that and better. And so therefore they're going to come across. But if we're going to stand on the sidelines and say, well, how come they're getting the break? Well, no, they went through the same process like everybody else. They studied hard, the family's involved in the process, and they passed the score. And that's when I went back to you, Evangeline. When after everything's been said and done about your parents, You were the final person to decide whether you were going to make it or break it, whether you're going to pass the test or not. And when you passed it, well, you were very happy to pass it? Sure you were. And you were able to get that degree? Sure you were. Because no matter what has been said and what's been put in place, you did it because you, at the bottom line, were the one who did it. Not my cousin, not your brother, but you did it. And that's why I'm saying about affirmative action, in a sense. When we talk about the starting playing field, we need to start and go with that.
The bottom line is the fact that when these kids are preparing for these tests, I mean, I don't know if you've been in, I don't know if you've been in inner city schools in Los Angeles. Okay, so you know the quality of education that you're getting, which is like not very good. Which is not very good. Okay. But let me just finish what I'm saying. Let me just finish what I'm saying. All right. Now, if you compare a school in say East LA to a school in Beverly Hills, sure, I'd say there's quite a difference there. Would you agree?
I agree to some degree, sure.
So then we agree that the playing field perhaps is not as level as you say it is.
I think it is there. I think what I'm trying to say to you, the question is, do we want to go start your education through a community college or through a four-year university? That's a question you have to decide for yourself.
I don't understand. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm just trying to simply say to you, when you talk about East Los Angeles, when we talk about a junior college versus a four-year university, either you go through high school and then you do well in high school and then you jump into a four-year university because you met the requirements that the college asks of you. Now, if you decide, you say, I don't want to go into a four-year university, I want to take a two-year university.
So who sets up these requirements? Let me just
whoever it may be, the board may be.
Who does it? Who sets
I don't
up
know. I don't know.
Who sets up? What is that criteria?
It's mostly a panel of probably non-minority people.
Exactly.
Probably right. But I want to ask Armando something, because just in your, and you can answer it honestly, you don't have to take sides. When you entered college, did you feel that you were at a disadvantage than other kids that were non-Latino, non-Colombian immigrants? Were you conscious that there were perhaps things that you didn't know, you didn't have, that these other students had?
At the time, I don't think I was actually aware of the discrepancy between myself and somebody else's experience.
So you felt you were... because you want to know something, me personally, my story. I remember I scored very low on the verbal tests when I was a kid because my parents, I didn't hear adults speak English. Although I'm speaking English right now, join us for Cafe California. And I remember it wasn't until I was 11 and 12 that my reading scores and everything began leveling off with other kids. And you know, the little graph of how you're doing math, verbal, it would drop. And I noticed each year got better and better, and it was because I was now being influenced by my education, etc. So I know that I personally experienced, because I didn't hear, once again, adult discussion, adult conversation. I would get to the verbal part, and there were a lot of key words I would just guess what they sounded like. So my real life experience was that I was impacted by the fact that my parents were immigrants. Sure. But I wasn't aware of that until I got much older. Sure. You know, which is sort of
Panoscan, high-resolution imaging that helps NASA and the Air Force train and prepare for emergencies. Panoscan 360-degree imaging helps law enforcement agencies with interactive maps and tactical planning to protect our schools. Panoscan, the choice for ultra-high-resolution panoramic imaging for Homeland Security, SWAT response, emergency preparedness, and crime scene documentation.